All right, welcome. Today I have the great opportunity to interview my dear friend, Lisa Clarke. Lisa, can you tell us a little bit about yourself just to get started and give us a sense of who you are, what you do, what you like, what you don't like? Just a little bit of an overview.
Well, I think I describe myself overall as a late bloomer. So I'm a queer mom. I have two teens, and I'm from German and German Jewish ancestry, first generation here to Nogojiwanong, which is also known as Peterborough. So I am a treaty person, as is my family, of Williams Treaty and Treaty 20. And I'm back at school, so that's I'm an older student,
Yay.
gone back to school as my oldest has gone to college, to figure out some things, to learn some more about myself and the world around me. And so yeah, I came out pretty later in life at 36. That was very disruptive.
Mm.
And that was a really big journey for me, to identify in the 2S LGBTQIA community. Um, but I hear some rumors that people already knew a long time ago. So
That's
there
always
you
great to
go.
find
I've
out,
been
right?
queer I've been queer and hiding in the closet, but apparently there were some cracks.
There's always someone who sees through the cracks into the closet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're still my besties.
Yeah. But tell us a little bit about your school program, about your PhD.
Yeah, so I worked in community for a long time and had a lot of different experiences in the nonprofit sector in different community services. And I had a lot of questions about things that I was seeing. So I'm studying Canadian studies, whatever that means, with focus on the inclusion of Indigenous studies in everything I do. Um, and then I'm looking at education, social justice, and gender. And I'm doing that at Trent, so I'm able to specialize in those areas. I have some key questions about anti-racism and anti-oppression work, specifically as a white person, and really wanting to do a better job of that, and look at those pathways to doing better work.
That's so fantastic. It's really
Yeah.
exciting work, and it's so important to be doing right now.
Thank you. I think we should all be doing it. So I'm gonna try and see if we can bring some people along with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you're doing some teaching along with this, right? Some
Yeah.
TA?
Yeah. I get the opportunity to TA in courses around social justice and education, which is really exciting for me because of my own lived experience as a survivor and as a member of the queer community. And as a cis identified woman, it's an interesting place to sit, and have these conversations with younger people.
Absolutely. It's amazing how much we can learn from youth as well, right? Like we often think of ourselves as teachers imparting information onto youth, but it's so much a reciprocal thing. We learn from the youth that we work with as well, especially those of us who teach, right?
Oh, absolutely. I am learning far more than I can ever share my own experiences and knowledge. Yeah, yeah. It's humbling, and that's good. That's good for this place in my life. Mostly the things I learn most though are from my own kids and my incredible partner. So they're great teachers.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's hear a little bit about your history of Nogojiwanong Peterborough Pride. What are some of the experiences that you've had? What brought you to Pride in the first place? And what was that experience like of having Pride in your own little town?
Yeah. That's a big, for me, that's a really big question. So, um, when I lived in Toronto. I grew up in Ajax in Toronto. And I didn't attend Pride. Apparently, I was a great ally. I learned that later on. But as I was exploring services at the 519 when I was 18, I wasn't really seeing anybody who was like me. I didn't see myself represented it as a queer femme. And that that sort of shut me up pretty quickly, along with family dynamics. And so I never went to Toronto Pride, even though I lived in Toronto for 23 years. So when I was 36, I went to my first Pride here in Nogojiwanong in Peterborough. And as I marched in the parade with my two kids who were my greatest supporters. They just got it. They had done grade three, healthy living curriculum, knew that families look like all sorts of things. And they walked with me, and I cried the whole time down George Street.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, and it was extremely moving experience. I had experienced, some conflict with a person in community, and they came up to me and gave me an apology that was just
Wow.
incredible. And we've chatted ever since. We've talked ever since. Um, and just the possibility in the community um, filled my soul. And I finally felt like I belonged somewhere, because like my medical file was so thick because I was so ill from the denial of really important pieces of who I was. And yeah, I was just really, really, really grateful. And, we've marched in every Pride since, and I've supported organization in different ways through the social service organizations that I worked with. We would join in Pride in the Park. And yeah, it was just really, really profound. And, I've seen a lot of community members join for the first time in marching with their own family members. Yeah, over the years. And then it was hard with COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because you just found that sense of belonging, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us about what belonging means for you? What is belonging? Why is it so important?
I had a conversation recently with another queer person about the ways in which, even in um, this community, in the 2S LGBTQIA community, there can be a lack of belonging, and
Wow.
that there can be difficulty in the community just because, we're all together in an alphabet soup doesn't mean that we're all allies to each other, whether through race or sexuality or gender expression or class, for instance, and disability for sure. And yeah, I think belonging is where your heart feels safe, where you feel safe.
I love that.
Yeah, through not just a physical safety, but an emotional, a psychological, a spiritual safety. And it's not always there for many people in the community, especially from outside the community, um, because of homophobia and transphobia. But there are intersections that we still have to unwind in order for all of us to feel that safety through all the pieces of who we are as an identity.
I love that. Well said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does pride mean to you? Like just the term pride.
I really still I'm a bit of a rioter, so I still see it as a riot.
Yes.
But I think that that word for me means that I'm unwinding from the shame that has been put on me,
Mhm.
um, for many reasons, as a cis woman, as a person living with a disability, as a queer person, as somebody who was married to a cis man, and lives out and proud now with a female partner, as a parent in the queer community,
Yeah.
trying to find other parents because it's weird to parent.
Yeah.
And, there's lots of questions and, there's lots of questions about it and how to parent in a parent group. I'm very lucky to have three parents parenting with me who are extremely supportive, but not everybody has that.
Yeah.
And also to look at my own privilege and what's my responsibility, as I am unwinding the shame and feel acceptance and belonging in community. I think pride needs to remind me, be self-reflective of the other part of pride, when you're prideful and, really remembering that I have a heck of a lot of privilege,
Right.
and be self-reflective about that and give back to the community what love and belonging I receive.
That's so fantastic. I wanted to ask you also, because you've mentioned family a couple of times, how are pride and family intertwined, especially here in Peterborough-Nogojiwanong?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, big question.
Big question. If I could take every kid that doesn't feel belonging in their family because of their gender identity or sexual identity, or their gender expression, if I could take them all in and mother them, I think I would. I hold identity of mother pretty much at the top of my list of identities. Um, yeah, I think family, I have a lot of allied families who are amazing and loving and welcoming with their family dynamic. There's queer families like us, cis women parenting together like us, who, we get to socialize with and meet. But there's lots of families not meeting other families. So the Pride events in Nogojiwanong and Peterborough itself is a really great place to meet other families and to see each other represented, because our kids need to see that there are other families like theirs for sure. Um, but then my thought goes to the kids that don't feel safe in their family, who are experiencing homophobia and transphobia in their homes. And so there's lots of work for us to do with families in
Yeah,
different ways, I think. And I'm really excited about this year's Pride and what opportunities getting together presents for, welcoming back families.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of this year's Pride, so this year's Pride's themes are joy and resistance, as you know. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering if you can talk a little bit about what joy means to you. What is queer joy?
um, Queer joy, I think it's just like there's something in my soul that when I recognized who I was and validated who I was and was able to partner with who I felt attracted to, um, God, I can't even explain the feeling.
Yeah,
Like it saved me. Like it just saved me.
absolutely.
Health wise, yeah, health wise, everything. And then resistance is like, damn this damn this small city.
Yeah,
Let's realize that a welcoming and an inclusive community means we're all healthier. And don't we all want to get healthier after this terrible time that really fractured us? The more we, resistance is in resisting that narrative of we are just individuals and we only have to take care of ourselves. No, we need to take care of each other. We are social beings. We are, as Dr. Brene Brown says, we're hardwired for connection.
Yeah.
And I resist that notion, that idea that we just have to take care of our own and take care of ourselves. No, we need to care for each other and love each other, because that improves our health, that improves our economy, that improves our family, our school system, our food systems. It helps everything. And that ranges from, welcoming and, caring for people in your own family and your friends who are 2S LGBTQIA identified, and also, people who are living under the poverty line with housing precarity, people who are racialized, international students, um, people living with disabilities in a town that, has a lot of barriers.
Mm.
Like, thinking about all of these things and welcoming everybody makes us a more beautiful place, a beautiful space with great ideas, and all ideas are welcome, you know, but love is the most important. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've
Yeah.
got so much work to do in terms of creating that queer future, right?
Yeah.
The future of our community, for being included, for also finding ways that we can speak out for ourselves. Can you tell me a little bit about how you see, how is the future queer? How do we see the future transpiring around queer identities and the future of Peterborough-Nogojiwanong's pride?
Well, spoiler alert, I'm a feminist.
Yeah. Yes.
But what that means is I believe in equity for everyone, every gender, every race, every class, every ability, every religion. And so, um, I don't want everything for myself, for my gender. I want us all to have what we need to live well together. And that can look so many different ways,
Mhm.
but wellness is so important. And so, um, we've lived through a time of really a lack of wellness.
Yeah.
So I think we understand what that means. And it's going to take a little bit of effort to reconnect, to say, hey, you over there, I know we have different ideas, but I love you and you're part of my community, you're my neighbor. It's going to take that idea. And I think that's what I hope for the queer future, um, of this area, is that we all kind of feel a little bit queer in that way of saying, hey, I'm different than you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure it out together. Let's find some common goals. Let's find some common opportunities. Um, and queerly navigating that doesn't mean it has to be about your gender or your sexual identity. It means that we're looking for different ways of doing things that bring everybody together and in their well-being. Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping for.
That's fantastic. I like the way you've talked about health and how it relates to disability and queerness as well. Can you talk a little bit about that intersection of health, disability, and queerness?
Yeah, I think there's some there's some really good studies, some really good research that showed in such a really incredible mathematical exponential way that when we are hurt, when we are harmed, especially in childhood,
Yeah.
that directly affects our health, worse than smoking, worse than drinking. Those are just ways we cope with these feelings we have based on the harm that we experienced.
Yeah.
And there is lots of trauma. These experiences in this community, as in all communities. um and so what are the ways that we can look at things like, homophobic and transphobic abuse, but also other forms of abuse that go along with that or separate from that in a home, in a school, in the community, and then all this environmental stuff that's happening all around us and sort of drives who we are as people. How can we look at that and say, hey, that happened?
Yeah.
This is who I want to be. This is who I want to live as. This is who this is my integrity. And how can I heal and become healthy? And I don't think that we can do that alone. I think there's some ways that we can do that as an individual to take care of ourselves and heal that. But it also means that we need to find other people like us who've experienced these things and connect with them. And then we just got to build our skills. We got to build new ways of doing things so that we can gain knowledge in how to help heal ourselves. And I think that that is really, and the science shows that it is directly related to our health. It's pretty cool. Um, the math that shows that, and the ways that it shows, and heck, we all cope in different ways with the feelings and the crap that we've lived through.
Mhm.
Um, but we can learn new ways. That's what's so amazing about us as humans. We can learn new ways, um, even leaning into that hurt and leaning through it into a better place.
Absolutely. It feels like we've got so much healing to do as a community, individually too, but as a community, and we can provide some of that support for each other as well. So I think you've really kind of expressed something important about queer futures, in that we have so much healing to do as a community. We've been through so much violence over the course of our history, that we need to take that time to heal, to reflect, to change, and to better ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. This is beyond, getting banned from Twitter.
Yeah.
This is having actual healing conversations saying, hey, can you tell me a little bit more? I'd like to understand. And I see things differently, but I'm so glad that you're my neighbor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So, is there anything that you want to say to kind of sum things up as part of the conclusion for our interview?
Oh, I'm just so happy we're coming back together. I'm really, really looking forward to the March, to having an expanded space down at Millennium Park for Pride in the Park, so that so that there can be some distancing, there can be family areas, there can be quieter areas so people can participate without as much stimulation and excitement and noise. I'm really, really excited, and just want to hear back from community about what else they want. There's like over a week worth of lineup of things and different events that people are putting on, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's ready. So get ready. Let's have a great time led through love and kindness and inclusion. That's what I'd say.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with me today. As always, I find I learned so much from you, and I think you have so much to share with our community, and you're such a great community builder. So I want to thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you so much.